What I'm going to talk about a little bit today is drawing some lines. Basically, who's in Japan? This is how I view a lot of the people who end up here, one reason or another. I think it's more like stages that people go through, so you can think of it like a staircase, I suppose, because everybody's got to go through one step to get to the next, pretty much. I mean, there are always exceptions, of course. But, yeah, well, let's move right into it. So, today what I want to do is talk a little bit about drawing lines. This is kind of a basis for a lot of the stuff that I want to talk about later on. And I think it's important to get an idea of how somebody views a situation to be able to understand the point of view that they're coming from. I'm going to talk today about the foreigners that you meet in Japan a little bit, and I think that these are stages that everybody pretty much goes through to one degree or another. And so, yeah, so here we go. First step, newbies, tourists, fresh off the boat, as they say. So these are the folks that are still new in town, very much in the honeymoon stage of living overseas or being overseas. They're here to experience the culture and see what the country has in store and has to share. They're excited about pretty much everything, and everything is cool and new, and it's a fantastic place to be. The first few years in a country is fantabulous. It's great. It's awesome. Lots of new stuff to see and try and experience, and nothing wrong with that at all. But then you end up with the next step, the next line, the next stair, as basically the jets. The jet program is an easy one to be able to talk about, but there are a lot of people come in a lot of different ways. Some people come over to teach eikaiwa. Yeah. I was deciding whether or not to mention any names. It doesn't really matter. But those that are teaching at the language schools, again, a lot of these folks, 22 to 30, coming to Japan, 3-year contract. They're here for pretty much just a short time. The goal is to get some experience in the country, and like the newbies and tourists, they're here and it's exciting and interesting, and they're soaking up the culture and trying to learn as much about Japan as they can. Again, great, fantastic. The thing that is different about this group from the tourist group is they get to have a little struggle with the culture a little bit. They get to have days that are not fantastic. They go through a little bit more of that honeymoon cycle, right? Start at the honeymoon and then end up at move into dissatisfaction or disillusion, and then it just continues moving through that circle. So over 3 years, or at least short-term contract, however you want to look at it, you get a chance to see a little bit deeper into the culture and see what's happening, right? You get to start to get a feel for the surface of living in Japan and what living in Japanese culture is like. And again, it's a great experience, and I think that if you have the 3 years to do it, 3 or 4 years, whatever, it's a fantastic way to go. The JET program is a fantastic program. It would be nice if they brought in actually more teachers, but the JET program is really a dual purpose program. They bring people in to make sure that there are native speakers available to students, and then also when those people go back home, they have a really nice experience to be able to tell everybody back home. And I think it's pretty much a win-win for everybody. People come and do their best to, show what they can do and give their students a little bit of reality to get some experience talking to native speakers, etc., etc. But that brings us on to the next group, long term. These are folks that have started in one position or another, and then they decide they like it. They've become accustomed to Japanese society a little bit, and have worked through a lot of the difficult times or the challenges that come with living here, and get to do a little bit more. They've delved in a little bit better, or they got married and want to stay, or their wife wants them to stay, or lots of possibilities. But there are people that haven't decided for sure that this is a long-term gig. They're here for a longer time, but they're not ready to completely settle down. They're still looking back home to go back at some point. They've made a bit of a life for themselves here in Japan, and like I said, worked their way through a lot of the difficulties and troubles, and usually have some really great experiences to show for it. Japan has touched their lives, and they will never really be the same. They have a more complicated relationship to the country. They've started to delve a little deeper past the surface and found some of the cracks. And some of the people go home because they get tired of the fight or whatever, and they can see beneath the veneer of the culture, and have found aspects of Japanese society that they can't put together with their own view of the world. Now, before I go on to the last group, I want to say that, one, this is just my opinion, and two, there's nothing wrong with finding difficult things about, or complicated things about other cultures. Usually by this point, by that long term, if you've decided to stay long term, you've also started to look at your own culture quite a bit and realize, oh, yeah, we do that for no particular reason, whatever that happens to be. And you've started to think a little bit more about what it means to be an American or a Canadian or an Australian or New Zealand or whatever, or British, and what you can take away and take back home is a new perspective on your own culture and society. Which rolls us over to the long-termers, like the real long-termers, the PR people, the permanent residents of Japan. Whether you're a permanent resident through the Eijuken program, or you're a permanent resident through having a spouse or kids, or however you've decided, this is the group that has decided that, my nose itches. You haven't decided my nose itches. I decide my nose itches. Ha ha. No? Okay, we'll keep going. This is the groups that's decided that they're going to make a full go of it, and Japan is the place that they want to be. There's something they feel that they have that can contribute to society, contribute to the culture, contribute to the community, and are here continuing to make Japan a better place, even if it's just influence in their own community. Now, when I say make Japan a better place, I don't mean necessarily that they are here to change the world or to uproot whatever. Nothing. I'm not necessarily talking about big changes. I'm talking about contributing something to their local community that they think is valuable and that will help other people. So they've invested in Japan for the long term, and I would say most people have something that they want to contribute to Japanese society and are looking to share that with as many people as they can, however that works out. And like I said, this is my point of view, but I also have a separate spot. I don't know, I don't want to say separate spot, but that's where I am, except I do have a slightly different take. I don't know. I haven't talked to that many people that really have exactly the same point of view. In my opinion, once you're a permanent resident, once you've decided for the real long term, basically, I like it here better than home. I don't see any reason to go back. I'm not going to go back. Once you reach that decision, then you are a part of Japanese society. And no, you'll never be Japanese. And that realization does take a little bit to get used to. Okay, so get used to is maybe a little bit strong. It's the realization that you are a contributing member of society, and even if you do decide to take Japanese nationality, you have an understanding that to some extent that you'll always be on the outside, and you've come to terms with it and can accept it. My personal point of view is, yes, I am on the outside to a certain degree, and that Japan and Japanese culture will tend to keep me on the outside, but at the same time, I've made a commitment, an investment, a permanent choice to be here, and so I'm not going away. And what is Japanese culture is partially my culture now too. I'm not sure if culture is the right way to say it. Once you decided to be that version of long term, you got married, you have kids, you have a house or an apartment that you own, you've decided that this is your career, this is where your life is. You are a permanent piece of Japanese society, and so you don't have the same set of issues that any of the other groups have, including the other long-term group. The opinions that you hold, the opinions that you share, the opinions that you deal with in the culture have a different weight to them. And that's kind of why I wanted to call this drawing lines, because the lines move to a certain degree. It's important to not get caught up in the, oh, you don't understand Japanese culture, and then the immediate response, which is where I generally live, of, yeah, actually I do understand a lot of Japanese culture. No, I'm not going to understand everything. It doesn't matter if I understand everything. There's a lot of stuff in American culture that I don't understand. But I am a permanent person here. And so my contribution to Japanese society is not just monetary. It's not just being a member of the community. It also includes changing some ideas on what a person who lives in Japan permanently means. So shogunate doesn't really work for me. And it could be just because I haven't been here long enough, I don't know, or I haven't bumped my head against some of the things that are waiting in the wings. I don't necessarily agree with old Debito's point of view on how some things need to be changed, because he's setting it up really as a confrontation. That's not to say that sometimes confrontation is not necessary or good. It's a useful tool, and there are important contributions that can come of it. But it is important to help people understand that the world is no longer just countries. It's no longer just countries. There's more to it than that. The world is a smaller place than it used to be. Think about even 10 years ago, 15 years ago, no internet to speak of. High-speed internet was ISDN lines. If you wanted to communicate with somebody on the other side of the world, it was possible, but you had to make a phone call. That was generally expensive. When I first came to Japan in '96, you used a callback service. You would call a number in the U.S., it would ring once, you'd hang up, and then they would call you back and then give you a dial tone in that country. Those are long since gone because of Skype. Things like YouTube, things like Twitter, things like Facebook are bringing the world together in a way that is new and at the same time old. It's human to human communication, not country to country communication. It'll be interesting to see what happens. But one of the things that Japan does have difficulty dealing with is change, unless it's implemented from a certain aspect of society. So I kind of view it as my job as a permanent resident in Japan to occasionally make the people in my company uncomfortable and to push them a little bit and to make them think about what they're doing and why something is being done. And the fact that, oh, well, it's just the way we do things is sometimes just bullshit. And it doesn't, just because that was the way it used to be done is not necessarily the way that it's going to be done in the future. And with the rate that the world is changing, sometimes it's change or die. So for those of you who are permanent in that last group, sometimes push. In the comment for my first video, I can't remember the handle on the dude, but anyway, if you go back, you'll see it. I replied to it. At the very end, he's like, quit apologizing, just be loud and proud and out, whatever. There's a lot of that I agree with, and but it is to a large degree about choosing the battles and figuring out what's appropriate to push and what's not. And basically you only figure that out by looking at who you are, what's important to you, and where you want to see your contribution to society moving in the next set of years. So figure out. I'm not saying in any of these being in any particular group is bad or good. Figure out where you are and embrace that. If you're new to Japan, welcome, great, have a good time, enjoy it. There's a lot here to learn and find out about, not only about Japanese culture and society, but almost everybody that I talk to, the biggest thing you learn about when you're in Japan is yourself. So there you go. Take it for what it's worth. So respect, freely given, not necessarily easy to hold on to. There's a like button around here someplace. If you click that, that would be awesome. If you click the subscribe button, that would be fantastic too. Check out Hiko Simon. Check out Give Me a Break Man, or Give Me a Flake Man, or Japanese for Morons, or Maggie Sensei, or any of the half a dozen other channels that Victor runs. Check out Tino down down south, and come on back. Hope to hear what you have to say about what I've said. If you managed to get this far, fantastic, good job. All right, I'm out. I got a thing to go to. See ya.